It is the Brad and John Show. We're on Egbert, Eggburt. You can check it out at egbertonair.com. The website is not totally done. Egbert's got me working on it, and I have to admit that I have not got it completed. We're turning this into a talk station. John and I are going to be doing an hour. Maybe, I don't know, we're going to be doing between 6 and 7. Haven't figured it out yet. But at 8 o'clock in just a few minutes, we have Armstrong and Getty. Stay tuned for them. They are very good. Unfortunately, they're on Best of this week. And you know what, John, that's one of the things that always drives me nuts in the radio business.
Oh, yeah?
Everybody takes off pretty much this entire week. And then once you get between Christmas and New Year's, there's no regular people on the radio anymore. It's I'm Joe Smith sitting in for, because
They're all filling in. Yep.
And
yep.
You know what the reason for that is? You know why?
Why's that?
Because out of 52 weeks, that's the only week that the rating service does not rate.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yes, they don't rate from, I think they usually stop rating like on December, Christmas Eve, and then they don't resume ratings till the day after New Year's Day, because of the fact that the idea being is that those ratings would be skewed because people were not in their home cities. They're not listening to their home radio station. They may not be listening at all because they're with family and friends. They're across the country, across the world, could be anyway. So that's why all the big guns, like back in the day, the Rush Limbaugh, now the Hannitys and all the other big guys, Buck, Clay and Buck, they're never on. They usually take off like they say, well, it's the 22nd of December, and I'll be back on January 3rd. And already it's got most of the big national talk show guys. Like I said, on our station, we've got Eric Erickson still live, and I believe Mark Lee Van Camp and Robbins are still live. But as of Friday, that was their last live show for Armstrong and Getty, and they won't be back till Monday. Okay.
Well, we will not be here tomorrow, but we will be here on Friday.
Well, I got to talk to you about that because we may not, because I have an existing interview that I think I have to do on Westplex, and I think I have to do that like at 7:30. So
Gotcha. Okay.
I'll know more today as far as that goes. Okay. I've talked about the fact turkey person. Now, before I go into the turkey person explanation, you tell me what you've got as far as the statistics that you have. Let me try that again. Statistics. Let's try that. Okay. What's the turkey thing?
In the great state of Missouri, the Department of Conservation uses a brand new counting system based on reporting and based on hunters self-reporting their captures, their harvest. Brad, which county in the great state of Missouri for all the fall seasons, in which county have hunters shot the most turkey?
Franklin.
That's a great guess. Franklin County is number 5.
Really?
I'll give you a hint. Many people in our listening area drive to this county to go floating.
Oh, it's got to be one of the ones down along the Huzzah or the Merrimack.
It is.
What? Oh, is it Washington County?
That Washington is number 2. The other county that people enjoy floating is number 1.
I'm not sure which county that is. What county would that be?
It's Crawford County.
Crawford County. That's right. Crawford County.
So where you have Steelville and Cuba.
Right.
Now, interestingly, one more question for you, Brad. Deer season just wrapped up, except for in a few counties. There's a special chronic wasting disorder hunting season that was extended by the state. Which county in the state of Missouri had the most deer harvested?
I'm going to go back with Franklin County again.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah, first off, there's a lot of hunters. Then trust me, I don't know if you look at my Facebook page, but one of our old station vehicles, I think in that vehicle alone, I think I hit 19 deer, and I'm not exaggerating. To the point where the front end of that truck's been rebuilt 2 or 3 times because of all the deer I hit. Matter of fact, I ended up in the hospital over one of the deer, but that's a whole other story. Okay.
Wow.
Turkey person. So I hear these ads on other radio stations, not on our station, but I hear these ads and it's, hey, go to turkeyperson.com. Okay. So I never went, and I should have gone, but I never went. But yesterday I'm listening to another radio station and they are interviewing the guy who's behind Turkey Person. And the guy's name is Bill Courtney. He's a coach, a football coach. And here's the Turkey Person story. He talked about how he coached high school football teams, and somehow or another he ended up teaching or coaching a inner city high school. And he's a white dude, and most of the kids on the team were black. And he somehow felt that he could not really get their trust, that they didn't really think that that he was the kind of guy they really wanted to put all their efforts behind. And he sort of had, I'm sort of paraphrasing his conversation yesterday, he sort of had a heart-to-heart conversation with one of his players, essentially saying, look, you're influential on the team. I get the impression that a lot of the guys on the team don't really trust me. Why is that? And the kid says, you're a turkey person. And the coach goes, I'm a turkey person. What is that? And he says, you'd have to live in the area we live in. He says, the white folks on Thanksgiving come down and they bring us food and they bring us turkey, but that's the only time we ever see them.
Wow, that's a great point.
And we only see them on Thanksgiving. They show up and say, do we take the stuff? Yeah, we take the stuff. We take the turkey. It's all good. But yet we don't trust them because the other 364 days out of the year, they're not around. So,
wow, yeah.
And it hit me. I thought to myself, that's interesting. And he says, this is what's interesting. He talks about this and he says that you have to, in order to really gain someone's trust, you can't just intermittently, or in this case, once a year, drop into their life. And he goes into this explanation about, was it they were helping the people? Was that their motivation? Or making themselves feel good because they helped out? Now,
of course, right.
That's a heavy question, because through my years in the radio business, I've been involved with many, 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 many charities. And up until recently, I was not bragging or anything, but I was the chairperson for the St. Charles County Tree of Lights campaign, which is going on right now, with the Salvation Army, the bell ringers and stuff like that. And there's a whole reason why behind the Salvation Army, because of my father in World War II and the whole bit. But I really felt good about the Salvation Army people because of the fact that I saw what they did. And perfect example, back in World War II, they helped out my father. And my father used to always tell me, as a matter of fact, I would get in trouble if I said this officially.
It's the Red Cross story, right?
It's the
reason
Red Cross
why you don't support the Red Cross.
My dad used to always say to me, don't ever give any money to the Red Cross. If you're going to give money, give it to the Salvation Army. And the reason for that was when he was in World War II, he would tell the story that when they were out wherever, he says sometimes, my dad was like all over the place, 3 Bronze Stars, the whole bit. Sometimes the Salvation Army was right behind the front lines. They were like in the heat of things. And a lot of times the American Red Cross was there too. He said the Salvation Army guys never ask for anything. If you asked them, and he would say this to me, he says, if I would ask those Salvation Army guy, hey, my boots are worn out, could I have your boots? The guy would have been down on the ground unlacing his boots, giving the boots to my dad. He said that was the kind of people they were. The American Red Cross people wanted money. You want a cup of coffee? That's 10 cents. That kind of thing. So the idea being is that when you're in a charity, are you doing it to feel good about yourself? Are you really doing it to help the people that the charity's organized around?
Yeah, and I mean, you could take that. Let's put local corporations under a microscope. How many companies have their volunteer day where they go to Operation Food Bank for 3 hours and then cut out and go to lunch and say, look at all we do for the poors in the St. Louis community? Like, and what is now that's not to denigrate 3 hours of service from 50 people. That's 150 hours, right? But, again, that those are great examples of turkey people.
Right. Well, and what's interesting was he goes into this whole thing, and I think he's selling a book, and he's got if you go to the website, there's a podcast on the whole bit. He's a very dynamic speaker. But I do understand what he's saying, that one of the things that I try to look at is if you see people that are trying to help other people, are they genuine or disingenuous? And that's a terrible thing to say when you because if someone, let's say someone has the life and they have a nice car and they're living in a nice house and the whole bit, and they do something for somebody, are they doing it to make themselves will they brag? Like, let's say they're driving down the street and it's a couple of the intersections. There's one out in St. Charles, 94 and 70, where there's always the guys out there working the sign, or at 170 and Page. And there was a guy that always got arrested down in South County. If you remember that was in the Post-Dispatch, all the story. The guy down on, I think he was on Lindbergh, someplace at Tesson Ferry, something like that. He got arrested several times. If you give him a 5 or a 10, are you doing that to help him? Are you doing that to make yourself feel good?
Right. You know what changed my opinion on all this, Brad? And you and I are both noted critics of the higher education system.
Right.
But I had a great economics professor at in college who told us one time one of his central theories was the selfishness of Mother Teresa. And it changed my view of philanthropy, because if Mother Teresa believes that by every time she does a good deed, she earns a little bit more of a reward in heaven, how selfish is she every time she gives a blanket to a kid in need or visits an African town? So if you look at the fact that she feels really good every time she does an act of philanthropy, is she some patron saint? Or is she actually being pretty selfish?
Well,
So, yeah, I mean, the cynic's view of that is, well, of course she is doing a good deed, and she is, but there's something in it for her.
the current controversy is Mr. Beast. Do you know about this?
Yeah, and most of our listeners probably know, but you should probably explain who he is.
Well, Mr. Beast is this internet phenomenon who makes a ton of money, and he's an interesting guy. He's like 23, 24, young guy. He's making literally millions of money. Sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars a day on
Yep.
his money from YouTube. And what he does is most of the stuff he does, he's giving money away. But now he's gone down into, I think, in Africa, where
He was in Africa. Yeah, I watched the video. My kids are big fans.
he's drilling water wells. He hires these well drilling companies to come in and drill water wells because these people have never had fresh water. They've had it out of the streams and stuff like that, and it's not necessarily the best water. Now he's getting pushback from people. Matter of fact, he's getting pushback from some of the Africans saying,
From the government.
Right.
He's getting pushback from government officials.
right, because you're a white guy and you're making the black people in Africa feel bad because they can't help themselves. And I'm going like, hold on a minute.
Right.
You know,
And also, I mean, it does have the visual of, let's have a white guy fix problems in a black area.
So
people get very sensitive about that.
That's
But
the
if I'm a
pushback.
government official, I wonder how Mr. Beast can use private money to do something that we refuse to do with government subsidies.
Well, the perfect example would be like, let's say Elon Musk decides he wants to build a Tesla plant here in St. Louis,
Yep.
and he hears about the crime problem in St. Louis. So he says, you know what, police department is short 500 police officers. I'm going to hire 500 police officers. I'm going to form my own police force, and we're going to just go and clean up things. People go, no, you can't do that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep. There would be outrage because
Right.
also it underscores the failure of local government.
Right. They would make the people look even worse because
Yeah.
here's this guy coming from, my mom used to always say, she was a very cynical person. She would always say, you know what the definition of an expert is? And I would always say, no, Mom. She says, someone from out of town with a briefcase.
Gosh, that's good. That's really good.
Okay, we have to put it to bed. I don't know if we're going to be here or not on Monday or on Friday. I'll tell you more about that. You and I talk off air. John Combest, you can check him out at johncombest.com. His book is
Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. Just go to Amazon, look up my name, or look up online harassment.
Yes, and it's Combest, common spelling, John, Combest, johncombest.com. John, have a good Thanksgiving.
You too.
At 8 o'clock.